In the heart of a dense forest, where the trees whispered secrets and the night held its breath, stood a small solitary hut. Its walls were weathered, the thatched roof sagging with age, but it provided shelter to an elderly woman and her granddaughter, Ava. The grandmother, frail and withered, huddled by the flickering fire, her hands trembling as she stirred a pot of stew. Ava, wide-eyed and curious, sat beside her, listening to the wind whistling through the trees. As darkness descended like a heavy cloak, the forest seemed alive with unseen horrors. Shadows danced eerily on the walls of the hut. Suddenly, a knock on the door broke the silence and made Ava and her grandmother jump in fear. The blows came again, more urgent this time, and echoed through the silence of the forest. Ava's grandmother glanced nervously towards the door, her voice barely a whisper. Who could be out there at this hour? Ava's heart pounded in her chest as she peered into the darkness beyond the frail wooden door. Her grandmother reached for a rusty iron poker, her knuckles white with fear. With trembling hands, Ava's grandmother shuffled the door. As the door creaked open, Ava's breath caught in her throat. Two figures stood on the threshold, their faces obscured by the inky darkness. But it was their eyes that froze Ava's blood in her veins. Eyes as black as coal, devoid of emotion or humanity. "Please, let us in," a voice whispered from the darkness, sending shivers down Ava's spine. It was a child's voice, but there was something unnatural about it, something otherworldly. Ava's grandmother recoiled in horror, clutching the iron poker tightly in her trembling hands. "Who are you?" she stammered, her voice barely audible above the pounding of her heart. "We're lost," the voice replied, its tone pleading. "We need shelter from the darkness." But Ava had heard the stories the villagers whispered, stories of children with eyes as black as midnight, wandering the forest in search of unsuspecting prey. With a sinking feeling in her stomach, Ava realized that the children outside were not what they seemed. They were something far more sinister, something that belonged to the darkness itself. "We can't let them in," Ava whispered to her grandmother, her voice trembling with fear. "We have to keep them out." But her grandmother hesitated, torn between compassion and self-preservation. The children outside continued to plead, their voices growing more desperate with each passing moment. And then, without warning, the children's true faces were revealed, revealing the true terror that lay beneath. Their eyes glowed with an otherworldly light and cast eerie shadows across the threshold of the hut. With a primal scream, Ava's grandmother slammed the door shut, bolting it with all her strength. But the children outside were relentless, pounding on the door with an otherworldly force. Ava and her grandmother huddled together by the fire, their hearts pounding in terror as the children outside continued their assault. But no matter how hard they tried, the door seemed to weaken with each blow. As the night wore on, Ava and her grandmother were consumed by fear, their minds haunted by the image of those black eyes staring back at them from the darkness. And as the first light of dawn broke through the trees, they knew that they would never be the same again, that the horror of that night would haunt them for the rest of their days.